Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome back to our first look at the new divisions in Steel Division 2 for the beta for the third week. I guess technically the fourth week, but the third update to the game, and we're taking a look today at the German updates. So good to see you all here, and I would highly recommend that you check out this game further if it's your first video, and consider buying Steel Division 2. It's been a lot of fun so far just in the beta, and I must say I'm really looking forward to the dynamic campaign, and of course, all the divisions once they release, and we can play without any sort of restrictions of the development of the beta. Without further ado, let's get right into the battle groups for the German division, which is known as the 20th Panzer. We're going to be seeing a lot of things that are the same, but also a lot of new things, especially aircraft and a few other mixes. Actually, the Germans have probably the most remixed decks from what we played previously than I've seen before. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 20th Panzer and see what they got. So let's see, we've got, yep, Recon is returning again. If you want to see more detail on any of these units, make sure that you go ahead and check other videos on the channel for a full description on each one of these units, their weapons, and how they're used. Finally we have ourselves a Panzer IIIM for Recon. This is actually our first unit that makes a change. A lot more armor than the previous Panzer III, of course, a lot more... as you can see, welded armor onto all the vulnerable places. And it looks like it's got a nice camo as well. 50mm gun on that one, so it can definitely be capable of destroying enemy units and vehicles from a good distance. 29 HE shells, and also loaded with some 8 PCR. So it could do a lot more damage against something like, for example, maybe the side of an IS-2 or something along those lines. Similar infantry that we've seen before, and also no real new transports. But this is a infantry, or rather a tank-heavy deck, but infantry is essentially unchanged. I'm seeing Panzer Grenadiers, Sturm Pioneers, Panzer Grenadiers again, so we're not seeing any sort of different troops. I don't know if we got Strauss Troop before. That might be new, actually. But essentially we're looking at dudes armed with PPSHs, all sorts of mixes of MP40s, and of course a transport. They are a assault squad, yeah, a little more expensive assault squad. They're probably better because they have captured PPSHs and plenty of ammunition. So that's good. And smoke grenades. Very nice. Not too much new to infantry, so if you want more detail on them, make sure you go check that other video on the previous German units on the channel. Let's take a look at tanks here. Finally, some new stuff for the Germans. A little lighter, actually, and not too bad because they get 6 50-point tanks right at the start. These are definitely good contenders to the T-34. Probably the T-34 would win more of these engagements, but this is a Panzer III with a little bit more armor, so it's debatable. The penetration here on the main gun is 150, and the frontal armor here is only 70. Very light frontal armor. But good to have for supporting infantry, and good to probably leave a few of these in a group with the Recon in order to open fire on anything nearby. Panzer IV-G finally in our deck again. Good to see that back on the field for this division as well. Looking nice, and of course you know what to expect here with the 75mm and MG34. Not too much fanciness here, but definitely an effective tank on the field, and I've seen it score quite a few kills. And that's a glitch there. But that's okay. This will all be updated by the time the beta is released. Or rather, the game is released, because the beta will be over. Captured T-34. A T-34-42R. Very nice. Germans grabbing some of their equipment and making it under their use. 76.2 AP with the F-34 gun. 90mm frontal armor. So that'll probably win against the Panzer III if we see T-34s, unless the Germans upgraded this armor somehow. 100mm sounds pretty standard for these Soviet tanks. Panzer IV-H also, which actually maybe I was thinking the Panzer IV-H before. We're going to see a little bit more frontal armor on the Panzer IV-H than versus the G. I must have not noticed that from before. Also, it has double machine guns. The Panzer IV-G having a machine gun in the hull right there, which you can barely see, and then apparently one up in the turret here, but it's kind of hard to tell, versus the G, which seems to have the same. I don't know. They should both have the same number of machine guns. I don't think the Panzer IV-H and the Panzer IV-G differed that way with number of machine guns. It was more of a armor type thing. But anyway, there you go. That's the difference between those two. And that's a great feature for the compare feature, is that you can take a look immediately at two different vehicles and see what the differences are. So we're essentially looking at a difference of machine guns and armor. For 5 more points, you get about 10 more millimeters, and that could make the difference sometimes on the battlefield. Panzer IV H that's our leader group for the Germans, and that's, again, another Panzer IV. But here's something big. Yes, my favorite. The M1 Abrams, made specifically from Great Britain for use by Japan. No, I'm just kidding. A captured IS-2 from the Soviets. Look at that. Very nice. The Beaut. Isn't she a Beaut? She sure is. And look at this. We get only one of these, but we get it at the start of the battle. And I don't think the Soviets get many either. So we have something to contend against the Soviets. I think when they call out their units, they get 1 per card. And there's no waiting on this, so we only get 1. We only get 1 captured IS-1, and that's it. Or rather, IS-2. So if we capture if we use an IS-2, it's going to have to be right at the start of a game, or at least you'll get the card right at the start. And then the Soviets get a lot of those too. So I don't really see this turning the tide too much. I think a lot of players at the current stage of the beta will probably be using IS-2s like crazy. So 1 German IS-2 that's been captured ain't going to turn the tide of battle. So we'll have to use some other weapons to defeat the Soviets. Let's take a look at the Flammenwerfer. Werfer's Flammen, of course. We've seen that before. Flamethrower. Panzer IIIN, though, is new. We're taking a look at a vehicle that kind of fires a traversing shell. I don't know what the technical term. It's more like a howitzer, I suppose. It's not really direct fire. It can fire directly, but it can lob a shell, and has a lot more HE shells that can really pin down infantry. Good for clearing a village from a distance or up over a hill. All you got to do is get close. Let's see. We have the Lee gun again. Kind of the same concept of the Panzer III that we just took a look at. Lob shells. Does it very well. MG42, very famous machine gun. You can place that in buildings or in trenches or even in, I think you could put those in gun pits too. I'm not entirely sure. Munitions truck, Opel Blitz, making its return. And the Panzer IV F1. Essentially the same concept as the Panzer IIIN and the Lee gun, where it lobs a shell, this time of 75mm one. More of an assault gun. Oh, wow. They got to do some work on getting those wheels lowered a little bit. But that's okay. These are all just graphical things that'll change before release. So that's why we're playing the beta. Alright. Oh, yes, the Flampanzer. Had a couple of successful runs with this. One of my favorite but least successful units. I really wanted to try to rush into towns and burn everyone out from there, but kept getting killed by infantry from the flanks and forests or from vehicles, but a very effective unit if you can get it into a town, no doubt. The Grill, sorry. Both are the same. Making its return from the previous times. Mauler munition. Commandant, and looks like we also have we have a Panzer III command tank with one hell of a fancy-looking 50mm. Wow, that gun looks like it's not a 50mm at all. Actually, if we go back to the tank tab, let's go ahead and compare that to the Panzer IIIL. Oh. Wow, the gun on the command unit actually looks way different, or at least way bigger. For some reason. I don't know. Maybe it is slightly longer or something, just in this model. But there shouldn't be any difference. Another 50mm. Of course, this is in conjunction with the use of the leader group, so if you put a command tank out on the field close to a leader, it really provides a lot more veterancy for your units. And it looks like the machine gun port here looking decent. Looking very good. Alright, let's go on to anti-tank. We have our Panzer Schrecks returning again, and it looks like the Kettenkrad is a turbo beast. You get 300 of those things. Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, the Germans get captured Soviet trucks, too. That's cool. Alright, so we see a Ziz there. I think the fastest vehicle right now is probably the Kettenkrad. This thing does... actually, I don't know if we can look at the statistics of that. If we display transports, we can see this thing does 70-kilometer road speed. Oh, no. Okay, the Schwimmwagen would be a little faster at 80. I don't think much more over 80. Opel Blitz at... No, 90. Okay, so the Opel Blitz will do 90 on the road. So if you want to get something absolutely turbo to the front line, use the Opel Blitz. Otherwise, the Kettenkrad will probably be difficult to hit. All right, on to anti-tank guns. We've got ourselves the 45. Looks like another captured Russian equipment. And interestingly enough, a Pak-40 mounted on an RSO, which is like the little German munition hauler, except, or whatever, it can haul pretty much anything, except it's mounted on this. I've never seen that before. So essentially a Pak-40, the top of the RSO basically ripped off, the crew cabin shrunk, and now a Pak-40 mounted onto that. 45 AP shells. Wow, that thing's loaded with ammo. Very good. This is definitely not going to stop IS-2. Actually, it could. 145 millimeter penetration, and I think the IS-2 has 145 millimeters of armor. So if you get awfully close and land a hit, you could get them with the Pak-40s. Any sort of Pak-40 mounted onto a vehicle, such as the Martyr 1. Same idea here, just mounted on a different chassis. A lot of Pak-40s just mounted onto anything that they could get their hands on. And of course the Panzer Shrek squad. A couple of men with... Actually, everybody's got a rifle. Oh, even the squad lead's got a rifle. Okay. And then also the anti-tank. Now, this would probably be best in villages. I think I've used this before. Not villages, but forests near villages. Because you'll probably have a lot of vehicles moving through villages, and this would be a good way to pop them, and then try to keep the enemy at a distance. Once they've closed in on a squad this small, you're toast, unless you have support. Another captured enemy weapon. We see here, this is the... Is this the ZIS 3? I don't know what the FK-288... It certainly looks like the ZIS 3. Oh yeah, ZIS 3 gun here. 76.2 millimeter AP. So the Germans going to be relying a lot on the Soviets for their own destructive power. In fact, the... let's see, what's the penetration of that gun? Only 105 millimeters, though. And it does about the same damage. But it is... Oh, it's not as accurate either. For all intents and purposes, you may as well pick the Pak-40 here, unless you're facing off against some lighter tanks. And also it could thin out your guns. And, of course, panic units, too. Doesn't mean the FK is worthless at all. But the thing that you're really going to want to use, yeah, the Pak-43 88 millimeter. Hello, boys. Look at that. That is awesome. All right, so if you call out these things in Phase C, you get like 2 of them, 4 of them. Oof, that is. I think this thing's going to be easy to kill, but 230 millimeters of penetration with this thing, which can easily one and done those IS-2s, but you need to make sure these guns are defended. These are going to be top priority targets. Once these are out of the way, the IS-2s can just comb and destroy everything. Anti-aircraft now. Nothing new for the Germans here. We see our 20 millimeter Gepard, 37 millimeter stationary gun, the quad Flak-Vierling, and of course the 88 Flak 88. Penetration on this is 160 millimeters, so it can also do damage against the IS-2s, but only 18 rounds, not that great. You want something up in like the 40s to really stand. But at least it's a multi-purpose weapon and can do quite a bit of damage. Alright, on to artillery. What do we got here? I'm already seeing some new stuff. We got mortars that are the same from before. Artillery that's the same from before. And some off-map artillery units. Looks like there's, yep, 105 there. We got the West, the 150, the Hummel. These are ones we covered before, so make sure you go check those vehicles. I don't think the 150 is new. No, I don't think so at all. But what we do have is this. The Stuka Zefus, otherwise known as the Walking Stuka, otherwise known as the Werfelmann 40, which fires 8 Sprengranate, which is 280 millimeter shells. And it also has 12 on board. So it looks like it can fire a total of 6. So you'll be able to... I wonder if that means in reserve as well. So I wonder if that means that it can fire... And that's interesting. Why does it say 8? But it only shows 6 on the vehicle. But then it shows 12 in the storage. Okay, that might be... We'll have to see how exactly that works. But anyway, this should be able to fire these rockets, 280 millimeter rockets times 3 on either side. I don't know if you can fire those independently, but probably what'll happen is it'll fire all 6, reload, and it probably can reload 2, maybe 3 times. I'm hoping 12 means that you start with 6 already loaded, and then you have 12 in reserve, which means you can fire 3 times. And I can imagine this thing, by the way, taking quite a bit of ammunition to rearm. That's going to be expensive. And then we see the work in progress, what looks to be a 220 millimeter. Oh, this is going to be like a railroad cannon. Yeah, it is. You can see the little icon there. This is off-map artillery spotter, which can really bring down some good pain. I haven't actually had a chance to use those. I'm not patient enough to use those. But let's move on to aircraft. We see the Go-Go Speed Racer 145B. We've got 2 little napalm bombs on that. So napalm actually a thing in the game. And though those are tiny bombs, that might be a good way at the initial start to like block a roadway or something like that. You'll have to get very close to enemy positions in order for that to be effective to like really wreck a convoy. But this also could just fly over and destroy a pesky sniper unit or something that's undefended that you don't have any other means of getting to and don't have time to spot artillery at. We have 50 kilogram bombs times 4 plus another 1 500 kilogram bomb for the Stuka. And let's take a look at the the JU-87D5 variant with the 250 kilogram HE bombs. So yeah, these are all going to differ because they're bombs. Take a look at another Stuka. Oh yeah, there we go. Take a look at that. I love this thing. The JU-87G gun pod, 37mm times 2 on there. You can see those big boys off to the side. And those some big guns. 140mm penetration from the top, by the way. That's the way to take out IS-2s. There you go. That's a good way to do that. The Germans might have the advantage this round because there's a lot of good planes here. The Me-109G2, 530 speed, and a lot more affordable than a lot of the Soviet planes that we've been seeing. If you want to take a look at the Soviet deck, by the way, we released that video previously. So if you want to see and compare what you think the differences for the advantages and disadvantages are, go ahead and take a look at those. Let's take a look at the 109G6. We're again taking a look at 20mm, 13mm. Not too bad. Very good fighters and pretty speedy. 590. I think most things are about. Oh yeah, look at that. The JU-87 is like only 270, but these planes are quite quick, so they're very good fighters. Though I think the fastest I've seen for the Soviet is like 645. So you're gonna want something around that range. Check it out. The Germans finally get a cluster munition vehicle too. This is nice. When I saw this, I got super excited. 2.5 kilograms of 96 armor-piercing capable cluster bombs. So if you fly over a field of IS-2s or a bunch of T-34s, boom. That's going to pop them right from the top. And finally, we get a nice, although it's very slow, 285, not very fast, but better than the, what was it, the 180 something that this one has? Oh, 270. For the gun pod. May as well be 0 at that point, but a little faster than that. Not too big of a difference, but it won't matter when they're against fighters, that's for sure. Me-109G6, we took a look at Me-109G2R2, the R2D2 variant. This is interesting. It's got some bombs on board. Very fast bomber then. It could drop 4 quick boys, 50 kilogram bombs. That'd be good for destroying like a very important undefended unit. That would be very useful for that. Let's see what's next. We've got the R2. Oh yes, so the G2R1, and so that's got a 250 kilogram bomb. These I see these are actually quite interesting. You might be able to call these out in good groups and start hitting enemy artillery. And then when other bombers hit their targets, they can immediately become fighters and escort the other fighter bombers in. So that would be a very good concept. We'll have to see how that goes into play here in the update for Steel Division 2. Rocket pods, 210mm. Oh, I see. It's just 2 rockets. Very nice. So you get 2 210mm rockets, HE rockets. I've not seen that before. I did not see that. Ha ha ha. Alright, so yeah, it looks like we've actually got something that can fire some rockets pretty precisely. This will probably be a one and done on anything that you're shooting at. Good for artillery, good for, hell, even AA guns. I mean, if you've got a Soviet, I don't know, a vehicle or something that's firing at you, especially a stationary AA gun, you can definitely fly in to destroy that. Aircraft are a great way to destroy anti-aircraft guns, so long as they're exposed and you can actually shoot at them without too much trouble. Barbed wire returns now. This is, of course, for the breakthrough mode. There's the flying lights again. But looks like these guys don't have much in terms of defenses, so these are going to be very good offensive units, I would imagine. And trenches and such all at our disposal. Wow. All right, a little bit more to cover for the Germans, but good stuff. If you want to see more detail on some of this stuff, if I quickly jumped over something, it's more than likely because it was already covered in a previous video. We're just taking a look at what's new for the beta. So if you haven't already, guys, make sure you click or tap that like button and subscribe if you were new here. And I will be back for more Steel Division 2. I'm going to play some pre-made decks now, see how they play out with Pinto. And then I'll see you guys later today for the beta, too. So if you see me, come say hi. I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Take care.